In the sprawling, hyper-accelerated economy of the digital age, what is the single most valuable asset a person or a brand can possess? It's not followers, it's not viral videos, and it's not a successful merchandise line. It's something far more fragile, infinitely more powerful, and nearly impossible to get back once it's lost. Trust. Trust is the invisible, essential currency that underpins the entire creator ecosystem. It is the fundamental foundation of a fan's loyalty, the unspoken basis of a lucrative brand partnership, and the delicate bedrock of a creative collaboration. It is the magic ingredient that transforms a simple content creator into a genuine cultural force. But like any currency, its value can fluctuate, it can be mishandled, and it can be catastrophically betrayed, often on a global stage for millions to witness. The biggest, most compelling, and most significant stories of our time are, at their core, stories about the breaking of this sacred trust. Tonight, we are going to investigate 3 distinct and powerful case studies that reveal how this precious currency is being weaponized, devalued, and betrayed in the different arenas of modern fame. We will begin by examining the brutal betrayal of social currency, using the calculated and strategic collapse of the Tana Mongeau friend group as our prime cautionary example. From there, we will follow the money trail to explore the cold, hard betrayal of financial currency in the high-stakes legal war between a massively influential creator and a corporation that allegedly broke its most fundamental promises. And finally, we will delve into the nuanced, psychologically complex, and bitter world of cultural currency, where acclaimed artists battle not over sales, but over their integrity, their authenticity, and their public perception. This is the story of trust, how it's painstakingly built, how it's profitably sold, and how devastatingly and publicly it can be broken. Social currency is the intangible value of a person's relationships, their network, their reputation, and their status within a specific community. For influencers, it is their primary asset, the raw material from which they build their empires. And perhaps no one in recent memory understood how to mint, leverage, and monetize this currency better than the Tana Mongeau friend group. The canceled podcast was, at its core, a highly efficient machine for generating immense amounts of social currency. The central friendship between Tana Mongeau and Brooke Schofield was not just a relationship. It was a publicly traded asset, its value reflected in chart positions, ticket sales, and 7-figure sponsorship deals. Their fierce, ride-or-die loyalty wasn't just a personality trait, it was their core brand promise to their audience, the very thing that made their chaotic content feel safe and aspirational. The betrayal of this carefully cultivated social currency occurred when the private machinations and resentments of the group became public, deliberate strategy. The end of the podcast was a massive devaluation event, a shock to the market, but the true betrayal was the hostile social takeover that followed in its wake. The strategic and intensely public alliance formed between Tana's longtime best friend, Paige Lorenze, and Brooke's recently estranged former confidant, BB, was a brutal leveraging of social capital. It was a calculated move designed to achieve 2 critical objectives. First, to consolidate the remaining social currency of the fractured inner circle firmly around Tana, ensuring her position as the queen remained unchallenged. Second, it aimed to publicly bankrupt Brooke's social standing by systematically severing her ties to the group's shared network and narrative, effectively casting her as an outsider and a lone wolf in a pack-oriented world. The endless stream of curated content wasn't just friendship, it was a psychological operation. Every curated TikTok, every seemingly casual Instagram story from the new alliance was a transaction, a public display intended to signal a fundamental shift in the social market. As of September 2025, the long-term effects of this strategy are still clearly visible. Brooke was forced into a position where she had to build her social currency almost entirely from the ground up, painstakingly creating a new network and a new brand, which, against the odds, she has done with remarkable success. Tana, on the other hand, successfully maintained control of her original social territory, but it came at a high cost to her public image, which is now permanently intertwined with this narrative of ruthless social politics. This case study perfectly illustrates that in the high-stakes world of top-tier influencers, friendships are assets on a balance sheet, and a betrayal is not just an emotional act, but a strategic market move designed to devalue a competitor's most precious resource. The ultimate, often unspoken goal of accumulating massive amounts of social currency in the creator economy is to eventually convert it into something more tangible, more stable, and more universally understood: literal financial currency. This is the critical juncture where the stakes get infinitely higher and the betrayals become colder, more calculated, and are fought in the sterile environment of a courtroom. This fraught transition from social trust to legally binding financial agreements is at the very core of our second case study: the landmark lawsuit between creator-turned-entrepreneur Josh Richards and the billion-dollar soda brand, Poppi. This is a definitive story about the betrayal of a promise, where the warm, collaborative trust of a partnership was allegedly sacrificed for the cold, hard reality of corporate profit. Josh Richards' entire legal claim was built on the fundamental idea that his partnership with Poppi was infinitely more than a simple marketing contract. He argued forcefully that he was a foundational partner who provided the invaluable and, at the time, unproven social currency that was absolutely essential to make the brand credible, desirable, and ultimately viral. He essentially made a massive, high-risk investment of his own brand's trust, his social capital, into theirs, with the explicit expectation of a significant equity payout down the line. He wasn't just a hired gun, he was an architect of the brand's narrative and success, embedding it into the very fabric of the creator culture he helped define. This trust was the most valuable ingredient he brought to the table. The alleged betrayal was a classic, cold-hearted business maneuver that has become all too common in the creator space. Once Poppi had successfully used his social currency to build its own independent brand recognition and achieve a staggering billion-dollar valuation, the initial crucial promises of equity were, according to the lawsuit, conveniently forgotten or reinterpreted. The company allegedly attempted to reframe his foundational role as that of a simple contractor, effectively devaluing his contributions to maximize the profits for its primary investors and founders. The rumored massive out-of-court settlement reached in mid-2025 represents a forced and undoubtedly expensive belated honoring of that allegedly broken promise. It was a legal ruling that effectively stated that a top-tier creator's trust and social currency have a quantifiable, multi-million-dollar value that cannot be ignored. This case study is a chilling example of how the warm, trust-based relationships that brands so desperately seek with influencers can be ruthlessly betrayed when the abstract value of influence is finally converted into the cold, hard numbers on a corporate balance sheet. Beyond the tangible realms of social circles and financial statements, there exists a third, more nuanced and perhaps more potent form of trust: cultural currency. This is the immense value of an artist's or creator's perceived authenticity, their artistic integrity, and their hard-won credibility within a specific subculture. It's the sacred trust that the audience places in the artist's unique voice and unwavering vision. The bitter, psychologically complex, and ongoing Cold War between musicians Lana Del Rey and Ethel Cain serves as a perfect case study in the strategic betrayal of this cultural trust. This feud was never just a petty squabble over a boy or a photo. At its core, it has always been a battle over the ownership and definition of cultural currency. Both artists have built incredibly powerful and devoted fan bases based on very specific and carefully curated forms of authenticity. Lana is the established icon of tragic, cinematic glamour and American nostalgia. Ethel is the ascendant prophet of raw, visceral, Southern Gothic trauma. The conflict began with a perceived betrayal of artistic originality, the accusation that Ethel was infringing on Lana's established aesthetic territory, thereby diluting her cultural uniqueness in a competitive market. It was an opening shot in a war for cultural space. However, the conflict escalated into a full-blown brand war when Lana made her devastating public accusation of private body shaming. This was a strategic and deeply damaging move designed to attack the very core of Ethel's cultural currency. Ethel's entire brand is predicated on her being a vulnerable, authentic, and deeply empathetic voice for outsiders and the marginalized. An accusation of being a cruel, judgmental bully in private is a direct assault on that carefully constructed brand promise. It was a calculated attempt to devalue her cultural currency by exposing a perceived hypocrisy between her public art and her private character. As of September 2025, the war continues to be fought not through public statements, but through their art. Every new lyric is meticulously analyzed by their respective fan bases for hidden attacks or defenses. They are using their creative output as a weapon to defend their own cultural currency while simultaneously attempting to devalue their rivals. This case study shows how, in the modern art world, betrayal can be a powerful and insidious weapon used to undermine a competitor's most valuable and fragile asset. The audience's unwavering belief that their work and the person behind it is fundamentally authentic. When we analyze these three distinct case studies together, looking at them not as isolated dramas, but as interconnected symptoms of a larger cultural shift, a powerful and unified narrative emerges. The entire digital world, from intimate social circles to corporate boardrooms to the hallowed halls of the recording studio, runs on a single, fragile, and increasingly unstable resource: trust. The betrayal of that trust, whether it's the social currency of a public friendship, the financial currency of a business deal, or the cultural currency of artistic integrity, is the common catalyst for the most explosive, significant, and revealing stories of our time. The Tana Mongeau saga shows us in stark detail how social trust can be strategically weaponized in a battle for dominance. The Josh Richards lawsuit provides a definitive lesson on the brutal process of quantifying, defending, and ultimately being compensated for financial trust. And the Lana Del Rey feud reveals the subtle and venomous ways in which cultural trust can be attacked and eroded through art itself. Each story is a powerful cautionary tale, a critical warning about the inherent dangers of operating in an ecosystem where value is intangible, promises are often fleeting, and public perception is everything. In the end, these stories reveal a fundamental truth about our era. Building trust can take years of careful, authentic work, but, as we have seen, it can be betrayed and shattered in a single, calculated move. And rebuilding it in the unforgiving glare of the public spotlight is the hardest, and perhaps most impossible, work of all.